let me turn it around. This is just awesome. Curtis Collins, U.S. House of Representatives, John Rogers. Oh, Donna and Leonard Harris from Chatham Foods, Roland Burris, Mark Brooks, Cirillo McSwain. Who's this over here? Gus Savage. He was another U.S. House of Reps. Robert Dale. William Cousins, Charles Chu Jr., Anna Langford. I thought that was Marion Wright Edelman for a minute. Who else has we got here? Oh, the owners of Soft Sheen Products, Edward and Betty Ann Gardner. Edward Gardner, Soft Sheen. Let's see. Elsie Higginbottom. I know a Higginbottom. I wonder if they're related. Dr. Deaton Brooks Jr. Eugene Pincham, Circuit Cook County Judge. And there's Jesse doing the Black Power symbol. Chicago Teachers Union on strike. Christopher Wimbush. This is incredible. Let's go into the editor-in-chief's office.
Whatever, then we can decide what we're going to replace it with and how we're going to move forward.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, bye.
And look at this, Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, those are all my peeps. Frederick Douglass, of course, who had his own paper and was definitely an abolitionist, and he's the one that I really say caused the emancipation. You know, they always
Instead of Abraham.
Yeah, because Douglass had a conversation. He had meetings with Lincoln, and he told Lincoln verbatim that as long as the South has slaves, you're going to have a problem. You got a problem, because that means that they're going to be wealthier. They have free labor. They have a free labor force that they have to pay no money to. So
they got a head start.
They got a head start, okay? So Lincoln did not free the slaves out of his, commitment to humanity or his love for blacks, like most blacks are confused. I mean, we're going to take the freedom however we get it. But the reality is that he did it because it made economic sense and because he wanted a United States, you understand what I'm saying, of America. And so that's how that came about. Wow. And then the other person over there is Phyllis Wheatley, of course, who's
right here,
poet.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that other woman there is Sojourner Truth.
Sojourner Truth. I love that name.
Ain't I a woman? So her.
Mm-hmm.
And then over there is
Booker T.
Booker T.
Booker
and
T.
I have always favored Booker T over Du Bois.
Yeah.
Even though I would fall into the Du Bois category of the intellectually educated rather than the person that works with their hands.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
But the reason why I liked Booker T is because he understood the need for both. Du Bois wanted to eliminate one, and that's ridiculous.
No balance.
And I just did a piece last week about the fact that our people who made up that slave population in the South were all skilled people. This is what they want you to believe, that it was all about, just the labor force, but even those who picked the cotton, the tobacco, the rice and the sugar cane, all these things were very difficult crops, right? And they still are today. Tobacco, and cotton, very difficult, and hemp. And they had to learn the art of cultivation. And then we didn't have the kind of, pesticides and stuff like that,
They were the true artisans. Everything's artisanal now.
Exactly.
They were the real artisans.
They were the real artisans. They had to fight off attacks from boll weevils, and then what happens with coal. So anyway, I'm just saying it was a certain kind of skill set. Not to mention, all of the work that had to be done. The white people there did nothing. And that's what you have to say. They were the skillless.
Right.
We had to learn. We built roads. We did bridges. We built houses. even in that scene in 12 Years a Slave,
Mhm.
remember when
Yeah.
Solomon says, "Yeah, I know how to do this," and he intimidates the other white overseer, because of what he knew and the other guy didn't know. So, that kind of thing was going on. We were the iron craftsmanship. When you go to the South and you see the beautiful iron works, or go to New Orleans and see it, that was the work of our people. Just everything we knew. So you're talking about people who had skills, as we say. They got skills. And when they left as part of the Great Migration, they could bring those things with them. I think the worst thing that could have happened to us was the fact that we resented what our experience had been, in as far as its relationship to agriculture, that we gave all that up. We just wanted to get away from it. And in doing so, we forsake the value, right, of property and land. But that's another story. But the point is, we should never think that we were ever ignorant, whether we were college educated or formally educated. We had a skill set, and because of that, we still had a thinking process. Had they programmed us to be fearful of them? Absolutely. We've been terrorized from the time we got here. People, they're just now using that word,
Terrorism,
to really understand what that means. But yes, they were. But if you look throughout history, of course, some of the most famous are noted, like the Tulsa, Oklahoma, what they call Wall Street. But those pockets happened everywhere because our people came with skills and were able to do that. When you look at Anthony Overton, who actually was born in Louisiana, then his family moved to Kansas, and then in 1911 he moved his business here, but he had a bank. Douglas, he was the second black bank owner. He had a magazine, a newspaper called the Chicago Bee. He had owned an insurance company, and Women Cosmetics. He is the person that John Johnson emulated. You understand? And so John Johnson did everything he did with the exception of owning his own bank. So these kinds of things, what I'm saying is these things happen, but wherever black people congregated, whether it was in California or Tulsa or Chicago or wherever, and excelled and were very successful, white people really were unnerved by that and wanted to, put an end to it. And so they would go and destroy, that progress. That's part of terrorism.
Madness.
Right.
Madness.
So when we talk about, the pathology of a people, last week I said we usually talk about, our experience as a series of events, when in reality it was about the pathology of these people that we endured. So anyway, that's why Robert, Sinstack Abbott is a very essential character in the fabric of our history, because he knew that we had a greater opportunity to excel here, even though the oppression was different, but it still exists.
Yeah.
And I think that a part of what am I trying to say? The making of the Chicago black population had to do with the very obvious racism that existed here. It allowed us to create and establish ourselves separately but equally.
Yeah, because I'm going through the hallway, and there's just so many institutions, and there's Hakeem Mahabuti,
yes,
who has
third
world press. Is it first world or third world?
No, third world.
Third world press. So,
and the Institute of Positive Education,
yeah,
and then their school. But so all of that.
Chicago's a city of institutions.
It's a city of institution, and it's also a city of black leadership and entrepreneurs that really have been successful. When you think about it, some of the leadership, the financial leaders in our community come from here. You think about Seaway Bank.
Oh yeah.
You think about, of course, JPC. You could talk about the kinds of headway that we made here. The first black Coca-Cola dealership came out of here. You have the first black-owned McDonald's, it's here.
Wow.
And then the numerous Black McDonald owners, Chicago Black, we have the majority of those. And then you have Burrell Advertising, and then there were the Colors, just so many of those that came out, leaders in those particular industries.
Major
Yes,
industries.
major. And then the hair care companies.
Yeah.
You know, Ultra Sheen, Watu Azuri.
Yeah.
You know, use Afro Sheen. So, you know, and then after that came so many others. But I'm just saying there was just a lot of major people here that made a difference in terms of Black life. And so I remember Akua, when, what's that film that came out, Boomerang, and I remember listening to people, there were white people who said, oh, that was a nice fantasy, and I thought, are you kidding? I said, no. This is real. We have that. And I talked about Burrell at that time, you know. But I mean, I'm serious. They, you know, they think just like a lot of people who looked at the Cosby Show, they thought that stuff was, you know,
not
fantasy.
realistic.
And I was like, no, we grew up doing things like that. Every Black family I knew, their kids, they would call the kids to do some kind of show, right? And so I said, I think that what perhaps the difference there was that the family, the parents got involved. Remember the one when they, you know, I love that.
Yeah.
Baby,
Rudy,
you know, when they were
Rudy.
doing the blues thing and Rudy was singing. I mean, that was just so beautiful. But that's the kind of things that we did because we didn't perhaps have all the money to go to be entertained, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of rich white families. We created our own entertainment because we're all that anyway. So, you know, why leave home? And so, you know, I'm just saying these kinds of things were real. And unfortunately, mainstream media really is not interested, right, in sharing that kind of story.
And don't
understand.
Right.
Because they don't know.
They don't get it.
And then the worst thing that's happening now, Akua, is that all these so-called hip white folks who think they got our culture down, they are writing what is Black on television. Now, how do you let go of your culture and let somebody else interpret what you do to you?
You know, it just occurred to me just now staying in this office, the Chicago Defender isn't just about people in Chicago supporting it. The Globe should support this paper because it's telling our history.
Oh, absolutely.
So
it always has.
Yeah.
You know, at one time it really did experience that global exposure and interest, and we're experiencing that again now. I mean, we really do get letters from people all over the country. And you asked me the other day about Zen, and I remember last year when we had the cover with all the, you know, young men who had been killed at the hand of police, Reverend Jesse Jackson had held it up, and Zen was in Tunisia, and she, you know, Facebooked me, Kai, I saw your paper, you know, Reverend Jackson. I was like, what? So anyway, we have people all over the world. I actually have personal friends that live in Paris, that live in South Africa, that live in Lagos and Sierra Leone, wherever, that are following it. New York, Atlanta, where have you. And so, we're experiencing that kind of interest.
Yeah,
again,
I can see
excitedness,
that. And especially with different countries in Africa, they could use the blueprint of how we've been able to create institutions and industry.
Yeah,
and their
I
growth.
think. Well, that's another story. You know, that's another chapter.
That's another chapter. This has been wonderful. So I'm going to cut off and I'm going to visit with my sis, but I just wanted to share my day, my winter solstice day with you and my lovely sister. Mwah. My sister from another mother.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for watching.
You know, that's part of our culture too.
And what is
all
this?
Our mothers are
ChicagoDefender.com.
Yeah,
I'm gonna subscribe.
You better.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was telling Kai, and I'll say this last thing, is that before I launched Aset, my cosmetic collection, I actually read both of Madam C.J. Walker's biographies. Mm-hmm. One by her great-great-granddaughter and one by, you know, a European American lady.
Oh.
And
there's another one you should read by Dr. Marjorie Joyner.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna put that on
her
list.
autobiography, but she was a student of Madam C.J. Walker, and she wrote a book. dedicating a whole chapter to him, but it was interesting.
But it was reading both of those biographies that like I really got who Robert Abbott was and how powerful the Chicago Defender was, because they really covered like everything that was going on during her time. And someone who doesn't get the credit she deserves is Annie Malone, who was Madam C.J. Walker's mentor. She worked for Annie Malone before she started her own company.
Right.
So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys real soon.
Bye.
Bye.